Right, so just sort of working through some fault finding, some things that we've done. This bike is still not running. You can see it's stripped back quite a lot. Spanners and connectors everywhere. So I've checked the kill switch and I've stripped that apart. There's no problems there. And all you actually need to do is come down here and just take the black wire out, and that tells you if there's a kill switch problem. And that's all fine. Essentially what we've got is no spark on either cylinder. So I've checked the plugs, I've checked the caps, I've done a resistance check on the coils, and what I've then done is I've come all the way back to the CDI, and as far as the regulator, you can just see it swinging loose there. And I've taken the regulator off and I've checked the resistance all across that, that's all fine. And then the last thing I did was I've checked the wires that all run back, that's on these three connectors, that all run back to the stator. Now the problem with the CX500 is the stator is buried deep inside the engine. On a motorbike, for example, like the CB500 here, we're on the clutch side, but on the other side there's another cover. Let's come around and show you. And there it is, that's the stator cover. You can get to it nice and easily, but on the CX500 you can't get to it nice and easily because the engine is 90 degrees transverse and it's buried deep inside the block, so you have to get the engine out and it's kind of buried in there, so it's a big job. So if you test the stator and the stator's faulty, and you can test it by testing the resistance across all the wiring in these three block connectors that run into the CDI and down to the regulator. So if you test the stator side, if you go onto the Motofaction website, it will tell you what resistances to check across all of the different pairs of pins. Okay, now the stator is made up of parts that not only charge the battery but also power the CDI. So I've done a thorough test on this, and the one part of the stator that is faulty in here is the part that powers the CDI. So what we can go ahead and do is just unplug and take off this CDI and swap it over for an Ignitech unit. And what the Ignitech unit does is it draws its power directly from the battery. So we haven't got an issue with this stator in terms of charging the bike. We haven't got an issue with the stator in terms of the pulses that it's sending to, I guess, signal to the CDI, but we have got an issue with it powering the CDI. So if we swap this unit for an Ignitech, the bike should just fire straight up. One of the telling signs actually is when you look at the wires that come from the CDI, these go to, so you've got the pink and the yellow there, and they go to the left and the right coils up at the spark plug end, and I'm actually getting about 2.5 volts out of them. You're meant to get about 100. So you can see there's massive resistance on the pin in there, pin 9. When you check the resistance of that, it's way too high, and it's the only pin that has an issue and is way out of range when you check the resistance. That's 2, that's 3, and I'm just going to lay that regulator down, and then up it comes. There you go. That's all it is. So that's fully working. It just doesn't work with the stator that I've got. The other option would be to get the engine out and replace all the stator, but I don't want to do that, so I'm going to replace this instead. It's simpler and it's quick. What I'll do before I fit the Ignitech, I will show you how you test all of the pins on here for resistance, and what readings in ohms to look out for, and how to diagnose exactly what the issue is with your stator, and then that will tell you whether or not you can just do a straight swap with an Ignitech or not. Right, so guys, it's been, or guys and gals, it's been a couple of weeks now since I took the CDI off the Honda CX500 in 1981, and I've already said I've done the stator test on the bike. I'll show you the actual readings of that, and I'll show you all the pins and what you check. But essentially what it told me is that you need to replace the CDI or the stator, one or the other. And the reason being is because the stator on this bike does three things. It powers the battery, so it charges the battery, I should say, presumably through the regulator rectifier. It pulses the CDI, and it also powers the CDI. Now, if the part of that stator in any way malfunctions, shorts out, which it has done in this case, the part that powers the CDI, then your bike isn't going to start. There's two fixes on this particular problem. Either replace the whole stator, which just involves dropping the engine out, splitting the engine, and taking the whole back cover off really, and replacing the stator. It's a lot more involved and a lot bigger job than a lot of bikes, simply because, as I said before, the engine's transverse 90 degrees and the stator is buried deep inside. So you just can't get to it like you can as sort of a simple side cover on a lot of bikes. So that's one fix, and then it would charge the battery, it'd pulse the CDI, it would power the CDI. That's fine. It's going to cost a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of work. Another fix for this particular problem is just replace the old CDI with a brand new Ignitech unit that doesn't rely upon the stator to power it. It needs to pulse it. The stator will still continue to charge the battery, but the battery itself will power the Ignitech unit. So that circumvents the issue on my stator that is currently not sending power to the CDI. And that's it really, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you what's in the box. There you go, some spare wires. That's your kind of cabling that goes. It's very similar to all of the stuff that you get going to the normal CDI, so it should be a simple plug and play. And there you go, there it is, there's your Ignitech unit. As you can see, it's actually smaller than the CDI. Sits in the palm of my hand, and I've got little hands because I'm a little fella. So I'd say it's probably a good 20% smaller than the CDI. It's not obvious how you fix it actually into place. So that's gonna be a little job for me to figure out anyway. So at the moment, everything on all the covers are off, seats are off, and things are unbolted, and it can, as long as we can get the bike started, we can figure all that bit out. That's just that's nothing really, is it? So there you go. Instructions, not really any instructions as such, just a little kind of wiring connector diagram, if you like. Not really a diagram, just telling you which goes to which and so on. Sort of right coil, left coil, kill switch kind of stuff, 12 volt ignition. But it should be a fairly easy fix. So let's go ahead and do that, shall we? Okay, back to the garage, and as you can see, I've just cleared out the Honda CB500 outside so that I can get a bit of working space on the old CX. So batteries, it looks a bit of a mess, doesn't it? Batteries disconnected, as you can see, and you've got the wiring and stuff all dangling loose there. I think the regulator and rectifier's down there as well. All this stuff just needs tidying back in. And then if you look over here, you've got the orange and where's it gone? The yellow wires that come from the coils, and then you've got the black and white wire there can't see it's really black and white, but it is black and white, and that comes from the kill switch. That I think would have just gone straight into the yeah, that would have gone straight into the CDI. So what I need to do now is just get the Ignitech and really plug it in. It should be a plug and play affair, but you know, yeah, there you go. Not overly hopeful of this working straight out the tin, but there you go. So these should be these two here should go into the coils, and then the green should go to earth, I think, somewhere, and then you've got to plug one of the red into a live, and then these two should plug straight into the existing connectors over here. That one's obviously going to go into that one, isn't it, and that one into that one. What I'm using to help me is the let me just have a show you here, is the Motofaction website's how to install an Ignitech on a CX500. There you go. The only difference is it seems to be giving you different instructions as to what to do with these two red wires, but yeah, not sure. But you can see there's quite clear instructions as to what to do. White to yellow, orange to pink, yeah. So orange to pink, white to yellow. It does say to put the green to the black white. I've got no faith in this. Oh dear. I've got to come back to the reds. Hang on a minute. Let's just put that on. I'm just going to double check this one. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that's pin 98765. I've got a feeling the 5 and 9, the pins there, are the ones that you don't use anymore, which is why that goes in that way. And then that must go that way. There you go. So all we've got to do now is get a red connection. Let's go and have a quick look at that. So what I've got to do is find the black wire going to the brake switch, and that seems to be running alongside the green white, and then just unplug it and then plug the two ends of the red in, and you can see on the red you have got two different ends, so hopefully we can find green and yellow with the black running alongside. That's the tricky bit, isn't it? That's green and yellow, and that's the black running alongside. Aha, brake switch. It's that one there. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. This is how you test it. You turn the ignition on. So what we're going to do is we're just going to tie this back up on, and technically you don't tie these on, you bolt them on. We're just going to bolt this back on, and then we're going to test the brake switch, and we're going to separate that. We're just going to see if that's got constant power, constant voltage coming through. Yeah, so it's showing us about 12 and a bit volts, so that's okay. That's all good. What I need to do is, I'm not sure that nut's capturing No, it is capturing, it's just taking a long time to pull it up into its... There you go. Right, so just done that up for quickness with a screwdriver, because you have a sort of a cross head in the top of the bolt. And now what I'm going to do is just do it up with a spanner. So, because whilst we're only doing this sort of temporarily, I do just need to make sure, sorry guys, it's really dark in here, isn't it? But I do just need to make sure that it's done up good and tight. I'm just looking for my, there you go, my small ratchet. Just so we've got a good, solid, strong connection. Now what I want to do is just turn the ignition on. That's the ignition on. We'll check to see if we've got voltage coming through there. Yeah. Okay, and then that one, just go in and crimp round. So let's get some crimpers. Okay, well I'm just going to do that. I think there's an issue with that brake switch at the rear though, so that's what we're going to have to look at separately. Right, so let's just double check we've done everything we should have done. Ignitech white goes to yellow, going to left coil. I've checked that the yellow goes to left. Hook the ignition green to the black and white, done that. Oh yeah. Okay, so literally just plug the Ignitech in. This is making all a bit of a hash of this, to be honest guys, but there you go, it's only go one way. Right. That is some sort of earthing cable, but I don't quite know what for, so I'm just going to reconnect it. Everything should be there now. Everything should be plugged in and everything should be connected to what it needs to be connected to. So we're going to get the tank back on. And before I do that, I am just going to make sure that they're done up, because they ain't done up at the moment. And actually, you know, quick test to see if that's working is just to do a quick spark test, because part of the problem was we were getting no spark. Well, the problem was we were getting no spark. So the common sense thing to do would be to just check to see they're sparking now, because if they're sparking now, we know that's just we need to draw some fuel through, don't we? Okay, so yeah, press it against the carburetor is a good plan. Just going to turn some of these lights off, because that way just be a bit easier to see the spark. we have spark. So I'd say we just now haven't got fuel, and that's not an issue, is it? We just need to get the what we weren't getting before was any kind of spark whatsoever. Put the plug in the right way. That is a good strong spark. Was not getting anything before, so that's the Ignitech unit here doing its job. So let's get some fuel in the old tank. I do love this bike. I think it's very stylish. Very stylish indeed. Okay, so before we put the tank on, what we need to do is make sure that these coils here are fastened okay. So if I can just do that up. Okay, let's just get, that's the 12, there you go. So let's just get that done up. The aim is just to get it running. That's good. And then just give it a bit of a clean and sell it. Actually, that's what I bought it for in the first place, because I bought it as a non-runner and it was kind of intermittently well, no, it wasn't actually, it was running. I just flushed the fuel out of the carbs, I put a new battery on it, I rebuilt the brake calipers at the front, I put a new master cylinder on, obviously bled all that through, done a couple of little electrical jobs, and it was running okay. And then I went to take it to his MOT and it just conked out. Then day later managed to get it running for 2 minutes, just conked out. So after thoroughly testing all the electricals, discovered that as I said earlier, that sort of deep inside there, the stator is partially functioning and it's just not powering the CDI. So CDI's come out, been replaced with this Ignitech box, which is powered by the battery. Job done. And as you can see from the test we just did, really good spark coming out of those spark plugs, and there was no spark before. So there you go. Right, so let's get this on, shall we? Just need to take these 2 bolts out here. It's been quite a handy little bolt, that, actually, because that's been used as a good earthing point for sort of testing all my stator and what have you when I was doing it. So right, there you go, let's get the tank back on. Obviously, as I said, make sure you leave the fuel tap off. It's a really numpty thing. So the only other little issues that I've got with this, I'm going to have to sort completely out before I take it for an MOT. Need to put that little rubber bung in. Is the fact that this indicator here seems to be intermittently dodgy, and I've traced it to this little cluster of wires here, and when I've wiggled the wires it's kind of worked. So there's clearly a break in the live wire going to the and it is the live, because I've tested the earth okay, going to this indicator. So it's going to mean stripping out the loom back as far as here and just circumventing it really, and putting a bit of an extra wire in there. And of course now, as I discovered, and this wasn't the issue, not that I saw before, the rear brake switch isn't working. So again, another little wiring issue, but these are just tiny little things that don't really take much to sort out. That goes in there. I hope we can see all this, guys. I'm just kind of standing in my own light sometimes. There you go, the hole's up there, so I need to lift the tank a bit. As soon as you get a bite on it, like that, there you go. And try the other one. Get a bit of light in there, you see, and you can see what you're doing then, can't you? There you go, and that one. Like everything, don't do them all up at once, just fuel pipe, wiggle that on. Now what you might need are a little stiffer, this one, for some reason. I'll show you something in a minute. The previous owner fitted these massive, great big air horns. They're not air horns, sorry, they are electrical horns, but these massive, great big trumpets on the front. And there you go, listen to this. You don't get that from a bike normally, do you? So let's do that. So that should, I tell you what, if I, that's the reserve down there, isn't it? I'll put it on the reserve because I didn't put a huge amount of fuel in there. Now that'll be the reserve, won't it? Yeah, you can just about make out the word reserve. So really all we need to do now, guys, is fire the bike up and get it started. And then all we need to do is just tidy all this electricals back into place. So the only thing the Ignitech doesn't come with are mounting points. Like the old CDI would have had kind of a lug at this end and that end, and it would have bolted down onto that one and that one. But this is made for a variety of bikes. It's not just made for the CX500, so it's programmed. When you buy it, it's sold for your bike and it's pre-programmed, and this is what connects it up to a computer. And if it came with a disc and you needed to program it, you could do it yourself. But on the downside, there's no sort of, because of that, of course they don't really know how it's going to fit to your bike, because it's a universal kind of box really. So but it shouldn't be too tricky, because you can see the frame here has got some holes there and some holes there. I can feed a cable tie, a zip tie through rather, all the way round, and hopefully then we can just sort of tuck it in neatly. But there's going to be a bit of wiring to tidy up. That's the easy job, to be fair, isn't it? Once I've got this bike started, that's the job done, apart from this light. Oh yes, of course. So that, right, let's unplug that out of there. Okay, and then let's just tuck that back up. Go up there somehow. There you go. Actually, I can help that. Hopefully that'll help me guide it in. Right, so does that go? That must go like that. Side. So what we need again, I think, is probably a 10mm socket, and then we can get that in. That one's going to be a bit tricky. If I take that back off of there, and that gets that out of the way for now, doesn't it? Okay, that's that. Get that back on there. There you go, that's fine. Pinch my glove. So all we've really got to do now is just get that plugged back into there. So that actually does, these cables do live in these little slots, so just tuck them down. So if I get some cable ties through there and through there, so through them two holes and through them two holes, if you can see that, we should just be able to seat that down neatly, and then we'll get some smaller. I think, to be honest, I think it's just going to sit comfortably. Now, as well with this, I'm not blocking any airways or anything like that, because don't forget the previous CDI actually used to live in this space, and to be honest, it was a darn sight bigger than this one, this Ignitech. So I'm just going to have a quick check to see if the seat just goes down, and I suspect it won't. More bolts. Oh, I think that's probably okay. Right, so these covers aren't great. They need a bit of a, they could do with a bit of a polish, couldn't they? You can sort of see the paint's very flat, but you know, right, there you go. This is a bit where I turn the ignition and nothing happens. So there you go, all good. Nearly ready to MOT now. Just need to sort out those fork seals, the foot brake switch, because that will fail an MOT. And if that is right, that the change in law says bikes 40 years old or more won't need an MOT, then give it another 3 years. Things like that wouldn't even matter anyway. But of course, for safety, you need everything to work, don't you? So that's obviously still the law. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sort out that foot brake switch and the fork seals, and then I'm going to get it MOT'd, and then I'm going to get it sold, and I'll quite possibly do that seat cover into the bargain. So someone's going to get a nice, really well-running bike, and I hope they enjoy it, because I just don't get the time to ride these things, unfortunately. But hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. I am going to just put the links up in the description for the Motofaction website, and that will show you how to test the pins on the wires going into the old CDI, and it will tell you how to then use those results to determine what's wrong with the stator, and whether or not an Ignitech unit will be the right fix or not. And again, if you have any issues at all, you can go onto the CX500.com forum, and there's loads of guys on there that will help you understand any problems that you've got and point you in the right direction in terms of fault finding and fixing. Thank you for watching.